The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor started U.S. entry into World War II. Throughout the war, there was a fear of Japanese invasion of the American mainland, but as we're all taught in school, such a thing never happened. Except for when it did. In this video, we'll be talking about a largely forgotten battle, but one that proved to be rather significant to the war: the Aleutian Islands campaign. But before talking about the campaign, you may wonder exactly what the Aleutian Islands are. The islands are a chain off of Alaska, which consists of 14 volcanic islands and 55 smaller islets, most of them owned by the United States, with a few owned by Russia. Before Japan entered World War II, its navy gathered extensive information about the Aleutians and the military developments on the islands. Even still, little was really known about the establishments on the island chain. With what little knowledge they had, Japan sent its northern fleet, consisting of 30 warships and 8,500 troops, against the Aleutians, launching an air attack on Dutch Harbor on June the 3rd, followed by an amphibious landing on Adak Island. Adak was uninhabited, and while the Japanese technically scored a victory at Dutch Harbor, the foggy weather prevented American air responses, also meant that only about half of the Japanese bombs reached their target. What was substantial was that a Mitsubishi A6M20, the most common Japanese fighter at the time, was damaged during the attack and crash-landed. The Americans managed to repair the plane and use it to study the weaknesses of the Zero fighter. Following this, the Japanese invaded the islands of Kiska and Attu, meeting little resistance. Japan made Kiska Harbor their main naval base, and the Americans established an air base on Adak Island where they bombed Japanese positions and naval convoys. Following the Battle of the Komodorsky Islands, where the Americans damaged 2 of the Japanese cruisers, it was decided that the Japanese forces in Alaska would no longer be supplied by surface ships, and submarines were the only way to resupply the forces. On May the 11th of 1943, the Americans launched an operation with the goal of recapturing Attu with 15,000 men. The landing was fraught with supply issues, and many men died of frostbite due to lack of cold supplies, and many units were fed in piecemeal due to the lack of landing craft. The Japanese, in turn, occupied the high ground far away from the shores, and a bloodbath ensued, with nearly 3,900 American casualties. Even still, though, the Americans managed to push the Japanese, who never numbered more than 3,000, back to a harbor over the weeks of fighting. With no hope of rescue, the Japanese launched one of the largest banzai charges in the Pacific Campaign on May the 29th, one that nearly succeeded in pushing the Americans back, but they were ultimately defeated after heavy fighting, with only 28 Japanese soldiers being captured, leaving potentially 2,500 Japanese dead. On August the 15th, over 34,000 Canadian and American troops successfully landed on Kiska, but met nothing but an abandoned island, as the Japanese had left the island 18 days prior to their arrival, unbeknownst to the Allies. Even still, the Americans and Canadians came out with over 300 casualties, all from friendly fire, Japanese traps, disease, and frostbite. I hope you enjoyed the brief look into one of the more forgotten chapters of the Second World War. If you would like to watch an alternate history scenario where Japan never bombed Pearl Harbor, click the card here for the video I did about that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.